Autopilot mode, living life on autopilot mode. We're going to delve into what this is, how do we get out of it, and why we want to get out of it. Because obviously, the main reason, or understanding the main reasons, we learn that through asking why. So, jumping straight in, we're back with some videos. The autopilot, right? And it's something that spurred to mind. And if I think back to autopilot, the best way to describe this is if you think about a car. I'm not going to name any cars, just a car. Let's just say we're using the car and it's got a button, autopilot mode. What does that mean? Well, it means it's driving itself. It means the driver, yourself, doesn't have to be in control of the actions the car itself is taking. So let's revert this back to life. If your life is on autopilot mode, what do you think this means? Well, it means you're going through your day-to-day monotonous tasks and just your general tasks, really, and you're not in full control of them. You're doing them unconsciously, subconsciously, however you want to label it, or non-consciously, and you're not usually gaining a lot from your life or your day-to-day activities. And to back this up further, let's separate into two things. We've got a monotonous task. Let's say brushing your teeth, or taking a shower, or I don't know, doing the dishes. These types of tasks where they don't take a lot of brain power at all, no computing required from you to think, right? They're so ingrained that you've done it over and over and over and over again that you don't have to think to do it. So usually this is actually where things like shower thoughts derive from, because if we're in the shower or brushing our teeth, you're doing the action, but your mind's elsewhere. You're not having to consciously think, I have to brush this tooth, that tooth, there. I have to make sure the water's on. You just do it subconsciously. So that's where your brain has the capacity to think elsewhere. So when you're in the shower, you're thinking about other things. You're not thinking about, well, the water is coming down. I'm going to be scrubbing this arm, then scrubbing this arm. You get the gist. So before we understand how we get out of the autopilot mode, we need to understand why, because why helps us derive the meaning from what we're doing. If we're on autopilot mode, we're not learning, we're not engaging our brain. Thus, how can we be improving in something or trying to achieve something more if we're not challenging ourselves, if we're not looking to learn, looking to absorb, whether that be data, information, or new skills? So ultimately, we don't want to restrict ourselves from growing. I mean, hopefully not. Most people don't want to stagnate or, even worse, decline in any aspect that they're involved in, right? So if we understand that, right, if autopilot mode is making us stagnate, or even worse, making us decline, we need to snap out of it. We're not gaining anything from it. We're getting through life every day, taking it day by day, but we're not really challenging ourselves. What's the benefit? Where's the push? Where's the engagement from yourself? So once we've understood and laid that groundwork, we can build up on it. So how do we move it? We understand the why. How? Well, it's simple in theory, but obviously always hard to implement, right? First off, you need to understand what habits are you doing that are actually good to be on autopilot mode. And we talked about the monotonous tasks, right? Showering, brushing your teeth, doing the dishes. Those types of tasks, to be honest, you actually benefit more from not thinking about what you're doing, because you can actually use your brain to think about the next steps or the next plans that you have for yourself, whether it be at night, during the day, etc. So once we have that layer, that's fine. The second layer is what habits and tasks that we're doing do not give us any benefit whatsoever. Well, if you write a list of everything you do in a day, and you can easily pick out from that list what's detract you from, let's say, your goals or your aspirations or your targets, whatever they may be. If something that you're dedicating time to throughout the day is devolving yourself, is detracting away from the main goal of improving in whatever we're talking about in this scenario. Let's just say a classic job, for example. If you're not hitting your targets and you've written this list and you can see different tasks that you're doing that are wasting your time and not improving you, because you're on autopilot mode, because you're just going through each day monotonously. You're treating every day as a whole big monotonous task. You're not looking to improve. changing and snapping out of that autopilot mode of wake up, bam. I need to be back in control. I need to grab the steering wheel, turn the mode off, and get on with it. So instead of just sticking in the left lane, if you're driving in the UK, and going lower than the speed limit, you're going to wake up, you're going to grab the wheel, and you're going to go into the fast lane and drive at the speed limit, right? This is the mindset or ideology that you need to try and implement into your life if you feel like you haven't seen gains or aren't feeling motivated even. Just switch it up. And ways that I also do this are simple but effective things like driving on my way to work, going a different route, mixing it up, because your brain's so used to seeing the same things every morning. And if you're doing a routine, obviously things are going to get monotonous, but look for ways to swap it, move it around. That simple going a different way to work makes your brain actually be like, whoa, I need to focus here. Where am I going? And then it wakes you up and you're like, right, I've done that challenge. Surprisingly, I'm waking up from autopilot. Let's carry on. Let's do something new. And to me, that was the most effective way for me to wake up from the autopilot mode. So hopefully this has given some insight into what autopilot is, or autopilot mode is, why we want to avoid it, and how to wake up from it. I think it's important to sometimes get a wake up message, right? Sometimes understand where we can improve. But ultimately, it's time to wake up and time to gain.